Who remembers the days of when a Rolls-Royce Ghost was considered the baby Rolls, and often compared to being a super high-end 7 Series? Well, today that's no longer the case, because any Rolls-Royce that can cost $500,000, like this one, can't be called entry-level or baby anything. The words entry-level or baby can't even be spoken in the same sentence as Rolls-Royce. Gone are the days of this being related to a 7 Series in any form at all. A modern-day Rolls-Royce Ghost like this 2022 Black Badge uses a modular platform designed specifically by Rolls-Royce themselves. It's the same chassis that's used for the Cullinan as well as the Phantom, but modified based on wheelbase. So what is the Black Badge package? Well, it costs as much as a loaded Honda, $44,000. It gives you some black packaging, such as a black Spirit of Ecstasy, black grills, gives you more power, I believe about 30 more horsepower, so you get 592. You get carbon fiber wheels, which I'll get to later on in the video, in addition to some other little bits and pieces. But is it worth it? Powered by a 6.75 liter V12 sourced from BMW, this twin-turbo motor makes 592 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque with the Black Badge. There's more than enough power to move this 5,700-pound beast very swiftly through traffic. Rolls-Royce describes the Ghost as its driver's car. Their studies show that most people that buy a Ghost actually drive it, which is a little bit different than people who buy a Phantom, for example. Four-wheel steering helps with reflexes, as does the 50-50 weight distribution for better balance. Now, if you're the type of person, kind of like me, who's also very curious about straight-line performance, know this. This car will do 0 to 60 in about 4.3 seconds, maybe quicker. Quarter mile will definitely pass in the mid to high 12s, anywhere between 111 to 113 miles per hour. This is not slow. There's also a road scanning camera that's constantly monitoring road conditions. Specifically, it's looking for bumps and potholes so that every few milliseconds it can adjust the suspension to give you the most pleasurable ride possible. I'm a big fan of the way that this car looks. It's very stately. That's the best way to describe a Rolls-Royce. It's got a very, very distinct look. The Ghost is quintessential Rolls-Royce elegance. It is long. It's got the suicide doors. It's got a long front hood. It's got the Spirit of Ecstasy. And then here's what I think most people would never expect from a Rolls-Royce. Carbon fiber wheels. The barrel is carbon fiber. Look at that. And I'm pretty sure that is a Black Badge option only. So the next time you see a black Spirit of Ecstasy on a Rolls-Royce, take a look. You might see some carbon fiber wheels as well. Very nice touch. Very nice touch. You may have seen a lot of different details on a Rolls-Royce. You've got things that are embossed here and there. You've got the Spirit of Ecstasy that can tuck itself away as soon as you try to steal it. But here's one thing that I've never seen anybody mention before, and this totally caught me off guard. Look at these hinges. They are gorgeous. And I don't mean the shape or anything. I mean the fact that they have been wet sanded and polished to match the texture and quality of the paint on the actual car itself. The finish is immaculate. And I've probably seen new cars coming out of Nissan and Kia, etc., that have had worse finish than this. Probably you've seen BMWs from a decade ago with worse paint quality than this. And I know I've certainly seen Teslas come out of the factory with paint worse than this. These are the little details that make a Rolls-Royce a Rolls-Royce. In the back is the business end of a Rolls-Royce, like always. You've got your ability to control your infotainment screen, which is actually tucked away behind the seat. And if you want to open your cable, if you want to bring out the infotainment screen, you press this button, Or you can press this button to close everything, just like that. And if you want to open everything, you press the button on the left. So you get both. You get the tray and you get the screen. You control the screen through the same exact rotary knob that you've got up front for the driver. But what you do back here does not change anything up front, so you've got your own set of menus. Granted, they look almost identical to the set of menus up front, but you're in control of what you see back here. Furthermore, if you feel a little cramped, and again, this has become more commonplace with luxury cars these days, you can switch your seat controls over to the person in front of you or the chair in front of you, and you could just move their chair out of the way. Now, before I even made that adjustment, I've got way more than enough leg room. I'm just over 6 feet tall, and I have probably, I'd say, about a foot of room here. So there's no way anybody can complain about being cramped in the back seat of a Rolls-Royce Ghost. Remember, there's no such thing as a baby Rolls-Royce anymore. There's no such thing as an entry-level Rolls-Royce. This is all bespoke. BMW is no longer supplying the chassis. This is not a 7 Series. This is a modular platform built by and exclusively for Rolls-Royce. As you may have seen in some footage earlier, there's a fridge back there. There's some champagne. There are 2 flutes. You've got storage here. You've got heated seats in the back here, which you can activate with a button here or button on the door. You've got memory controls here for the seats as well. But oddly enough, no cooled seats in the back. And even stranger, no massaging seats in the back either. This car is worth $500,000. Oh well, running out of time. I gotta go. Closing the Ghost is an interesting little affair. There's a button here that does not physically click, but if you push it, it tells the car to close the door. Trying to physically close the door without that button makes it feel like you're actually trying to close a bank vault door, so don't do that. This car is meant to close its doors and open its doors automatically. Otherwise, they feel very, very heavy if you try to do all that manually. And of course, Rolls-Royce likes to keep it classy, so you've still got a keyhole. There's a lot of these little, let's call them quirks and features that you'll find all throughout a Rolls-Royce. For example, it doesn't have automatic aircon. Your air conditioning is still manually operated. You've got settings that range from being off, soft, medium, high, and max. You've got these sliders over here that actually move independently. That is a Rolls-Royce feature. The top slider controls the temperature from the top vent. The bottom slider controls temperature for the bottom vents going to your feet. You've got cooled seats in the front, fortunately. Unfortunately, you don't have massaging seats for the driver either. So I find that a little bit bizarre. Again, this is a $500,000 car, and I'm not 100% familiar with the options package or options list for these cars, but I'm pretty sure that you can probably spec out a Rolls-Royce Ghost with massaging seats. If a Range Rover has it, I see no reason why this car wouldn't. But overall, the fit and finish on this car is absolutely astounding. You cannot complain. This is why a Rolls-Royce like this one starts at $350,000, because you have everything to the touch. Feels premium. These little pulls right here that open and close the vents, they feel premium. The vents, can you hear that? They're metallic. They're made out of metal. The pulls aren't. I'm pretty sure these are plastic, but this is such a premium touch. It just elevates the interior of a Rolls-Royce to a new level, and this is what separates a Rolls-Royce from other cars. This display is digital. You don't have a tachometer. You have what's called power reserve gauge. You've got your speed, you've got your fuel gauge, and you've got your coolant temps. All pretty standard stuff. The steering wheel has a pretty standard set of controls, volumes. You've got the radar sensing cruise control right over here. You can adjust your distance. You've got some multimedia functions as well over here, your Bluetooth and your voice command. Let's listen to the horn. Oh, it sounds different the harder you push it. If you give it a light tap, you have a light sound. Now here's the funny bit. When I first sat in this car, there was some music playing on the infotainment system. And by the way, I believe this infotainment system is based on BMW OS 8 or iDrive 8, but it's heavily, heavily modified. But nonetheless, I first sat in here and there was music playing. So I had to shut the music off for, copyright reasons. And I didn't know how to do that. I couldn't find the volume knob. Where is the volume knob? Did I have to go into some option, to some setting, to some menu? Couldn't figure it out. Ultimately, I figured out how to do it from the back seat, but I still couldn't quite figure out how to do it from the front seat, and that was just eating me alive. Until I realized, wait, what's this? Unmarked, there it is. That's the volume knob, that's your mute, unmute. Took me a while to figure that out, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I think it's pretty funny. This unmarked little knob over here has nothing to do with these vents. This is the volume knob. It's pretty hilarious to me. These buttons right here control the doors closing automatically. This over here is the ride height, your access to cameras, your parking sensors. This is the infotainment, the rotary. If you've ever been in a BMW, if you've ever been in an Audi, anything that's got a similar system to this, you know exactly how to operate it. You've got shortcut buttons over here. You've got the main menu button. It'll take you to this. This is a touch screen. You can adjust all sorts of things. For example, do you want the spirit of ecstasy to be always raised or lowered? Do you want it raised right now? Do you want it lowered right now? Do you want it to be automatic? There it goes. You've got other options over here, such as your lighting, your door and key configurations, your intelligent safety, which is a 360. I believe that's some of the minor autonomous driving, which is available on the BMWs as well. Your steering wheel vibration, in case you start to drift out of your lane. Driver attention control. An option to tell the car you fitted it with tire chains. This would primarily be for places such as Canada and Norway, etc. Anywhere where it snows very, very heavily, where you can use tire chains. In fact, I'm not even sure if Canada allows tire chains or not. You can only go 30 miles per hour with tire chains. In any case, that is the interior. Overall, absolutely stunning. You've got the Infinity badging right there. Look at that starlight. It's gorgeous. And look up here. Just absolutely beautiful. Let's start the drive in the Rolls-Royce. Now, you don't have a shifter, of course, just like any Rolls. You have a lever, a little stalk, essentially. I feel like I'm sitting too low in this car. I've got to be able to see a little bit over that ginormous hood. And the biggest thing I'm looking for with this car is the suspension. I think the Range Rover had a terrific suspension. How much better is this? Just how much of the road does this isolate? Now, oddly enough, I just drove over a few pebbles that were scattered from some construction, and I felt them. I definitely felt them a little bit. There's a dampener for a dampener in these cars. So when you go over these little yellow markers that divide a one-lane road, or I guess a two-lane road, so that you don't drift over to the other side, it's meant to dampen those sharp, quick little impacts. So we're gonna test that in a second. Here we go. Let's go, let's hit. Oh yeah. You can hear them. Don't really feel them a whole lot. You can hear them, but you don't feel them. See, I was led to believe that you're basically completely isolated from the road, which I didn't think was actually possible. That is not to say that this car's suspension is not absolutely immaculate. You can probably drive over a couple of alligators and you wouldn't notice. Or you just think you hit a pothole or something like that, because this is pretty serene. I've never been in a ride this quiet. The Range Rover was really quiet. That pothole disturbed, in the middle of a turn, the pothole actually disturbed the car a little bit, So unlike the Range Rover, which you can surprisingly hustle through a turn, this car, not so much. And I took that turn at about 40 as well. And there's body roll. There's body roll. I'm not gonna say otherwise. Wonder if there's a sportier mode that we can enter. There are no paddle shifters in this car. You can't paddle shift this car. But let's power. Oh, yeah. It's not slow. It's got nearly 600 horsepower. Over, I think, 623 pound-feet of torque is what I had mentioned earlier. From BMW 6.75 liter V12. This is not slow. Weighs about 5,700 pounds. It'll boogie. It'll definitely keep you moving. This will eat up a highway. It'll hustle on a highway without breaking a sweat. You can just feel this effortless amount of power over here. I don't have to jab my foot to get this thing rolling because of the swell of torque, and I believe it's 1,800 RPM. Is when the full amount of torque comes on in this car. So the turbos are really doing their job. The engine is largely quiet. You do hear it roaring in a good way when you've put your foot all the way down to the floor. To the floor, these incredible floor mats. Are these even floor mats? I don't think these are floor mats. They're just so beautiful. They're lamb, they're wool floor mats. They are so comfortable. My heels, through my shoe, feel like they're sitting on a cloud. The only thing I can hear is a slight whoosh from the AC, and that's because, again, we're in Florida. It's about 90 degrees outside, so we're trying to blast the AC, but not blast it too high. That's the only thing you hear, and I don't even know if you'll hear it through this little camera. But this is something else. This is something else. I'm kind of looking to hit a few bumps if I could. For example, here we go. Yeah. I entered a driveway to a facility. And here in Florida, actually a lot of places where it rains often, we've got easeways that are meant to prevent flooding, meant to carry water into drains. And they're fairly sharp. Coming out of that, it's pretty smooth. Is this a $500,000 car? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The interior is something else. I do feel like there are a few options missing here. I really do think that for a $500,000 car, there should be massaging seats. Otherwise, if you are looking for the absolute most in luxury, the nicest seats, the highest quality of materials, this is your ticket. It's also fast. In talking with my friend over here, my cameraman, he just brought up an interesting point. A current Rolls-Royce Ghost that's about 10 years old can be had for around $100,000. Now, I don't recommend that because I knew somebody that bought a Ghost, and I also knew that his wallet wasn't really happy with that decision. He had spent thousands, I believe $8,000 to $10,000 worth on just fixing the air ride in that car, the air suspension. These things can really add up on a Rolls-Royce. Back in the day, the first generation Ghost, you could probably get away with taking it to a BMW tech, or a really highly trained BMW tech who knows his way around anything BMW. These days, this car being a modular platform and as different as it is from a standard 760, you're probably going to have to stick to the Rolls-Royce dealership. But if you are looking for the highest level of opulence, this is the car you buy. I've been in a Bentayga twice before, and I don't think the Bentayga matches this level or this caliber of luxury. Rolls-Royce takes it to a different level. This car performs well. It's got an incredibly soft suspension. $500,000 might sound like a lot of money, but you are getting a lot of car. This is the lap of luxury. And only Rolls-Royce can put a package together like this and make you feel so special every time you drive it. Continuity. How does it work? You probably noticed I'm wearing a different shirt in this video. Well, unfortunately, when I did the review of both this and that, I did it in the same day. When I went to review the footage, I had noticed that some of the footage was no good. Not just no good, it was actually shot in slow-mo. Sony has a feature called the SNQ, short and quick mode. No audio, so I couldn't speed it up, get the audio out. So I had to come back and redo sections of these reviews. So just being transparent. Hope you enjoy it. Keep watching.